What I'm about to share isn't speculation, and it isn't coming from social media narratives. This is straight from a central bank document, and it changes the way we need to think about crypto entirely. A central bank has now openly explored XRP as a potential alternative to traditional bank deposits, while explicitly stating that Bitcoin and Ethereum are unsuitable for most payment use cases. That alone should make you pause, because if you think the market has priced this in, you're about to realize just how early we still are. Before we go any further, understand this. Real financial transformations don't happen because people guess tops and bottoms. They happen when structural shifts are recognized before the crowd. That's how capital gets positioned early, long before headlines catch up. And right now, a structural shift is unfolding. We've all seen the data. Over $1 million deployed into high-leverage positions around the $2 range. This isn't retail speculation. This isn't someone chasing momentum from a phone screen. This is calculated capital. Institutions don't gamble. They position. The real question isn't who placed those trades. The question is, what are they positioning for? Because at the same time this capital is moving, something far more important is happening in the background. XRP is no longer being discussed as a speculative asset. It's being discussed as financial infrastructure. That distinction changes everything. Bitcoin proved digital scarcity. Ethereum introduced programmable money. But neither were designed to move value efficiently at global scale under regulatory constraints. XRP was, and that's exactly why institutions are paying attention. This brings us directly to ETFs, not whether XRP participates, but how. Institutions don't design products around narratives. They design them around settlement, liquidity, compliance, and integration with existing financial systems. XRP checks those boxes in ways Bitcoin and Ethereum do not.
That's why the conversation isn't about price anymore. It's about role. And now, for the first time, a central bank has said the quiet part out loud. The Central Bank of Malaysia released a working paper exploring XRP as a potential alternative to traditional bank deposits, not as a sandbox experiment, not as a payment test, but as a possible replacement for cash in circulation or even deposits themselves. That's a fundamentally different conversation. The paper clearly explains why. XRP offers low-cost transactions, high-speed settlement, and instant finality. Bitcoin was rejected due to volatility, energy usage, and scalability. Ethereum was rejected due to volatility and scalability. Central banks don't care about ideology. They care about systems that function under stress. And here's the part most retail investors miss. Central banks don't research assets for fun. Institutional research always precedes implementation. The document goes on to state that private tokens such as XRP may, in the future, be widely used outside the banking system, potentially replacing cash or bank deposits. At the same time, it explicitly calls Bitcoin and Ethereum unsuitable for most payment use cases. Zoom out for a moment and understand what this means. Bitcoin is being acknowledged as digital gold. Ethereum is treated as an experimental computation layer. XRP is being evaluated as a monetary instrument. Roles matter more than price. And this didn't happen in isolation. Ripple has been operating in Southeast Asia for years. CIMB Group, one of the largest banks in the region, joined RippleNet back in 2018. That partnership is still active today, enabling instant cross-border settlement across a region with massive remittance flows.
Ripple also holds a strategic stake in Tranglo, unlocking on-demand liquidity corridors throughout Southeast Asia, including Malaysia and the Philippines. This isn't theoretical. This is live infrastructure, reducing working capital requirements and settlement friction. On top of that, Malaysian fintech MoneyMatch is actively using Ripple's technology to help businesses settle international payments faster and cheaper. These are real companies generating real savings.
So imagine this from a central bank's perspective. Your banks are already using Ripple. Your fintechs are already using Ripple. Liquidity is being unlocked. Costs are being reduced. And traditional deposits are becoming less efficient in a digital economy. Of course, XRP gets studied. This is how adoption actually happens, not through hype, but through quiet integration, until one day it's everywhere and people wonder how they missed it. Now layer everything together. Whale accumulation, ETF frameworks expanding, central banks publishing research, payment corridors already live, global liquidity stress increasing. This isn't a pump story, it's an infrastructure story. And infrastructure doesn't explode overnight. It gets built, tested, integrated, and then it becomes unavoidable. When central banks discuss alternatives to deposits, they're not talking about replacing your checking account tomorrow. They're talking about systemic resilience. Deposits are liabilities. They require capital buffers. They create stress during crises. If even part of value storage and settlement can move off balance sheets into tokenized liquidity layers, pressure across the system is reduced. That's why this research matters. XRP isn't being positioned as something you hold and hope for. It's being positioned as something you use, a bridge asset, a settlement layer, a liquidity instrument. Demand driven by utility behaves very differently than demand driven by speculation.
This is also why ETFs matter so much. ETFs aren't just about exposure, they're about legitimacy, custody, compliance, and scale. XRP-based products can be structured around liquidity provisioning and settlement activity, not just passive price tracking. Institutions don't chase hype, they chase activity. Activity generates fees. Fees generate revenue. And this is why XRP's role is only beginning. The same regions exploring XRP at the central bank level are the same regions already using Ripple operationally. Southeast Asia, the Middle East, Latin America, high growth corridors, massive remittance demand, real-world pain points. This wasn't random expansion. It was strategic. So when people ask, why isn't the price reflecting this yet? The answer is simple. Infrastructure moves before markets do. It always has. By the time XRP's role is obvious to everyone, the asymmetric opportunity will already be gone. This isn't financial advice, but understand this. Wealth is built by recognizing system-level shifts early, positioning intelligently, and letting time do the work. If this helped you see the bigger picture, support the channel. It matters more than you think. And remember, being early isn't about being first. It's about being informed.